All right, hello singers. We're back once again for Vocal Joy and also Glory. And it's great to see you all for another live chat. Oh, we have a little sound issue here. My apologies. And we're back, echo-free, for an echo-free live chat. We've got questions already rocking and rolling from some of our friends. I see Blaze back on. How you doing, Blaze? And I see Sammy. Good to see you again, Sammy. And Blue Moon, our pal, Blue Moon. Lots of good friends here today. I'm going to start off with a question from last time that we didn't quite get to at the end. This was from Steph S. And a super long question, Steph, which I appreciate the detail. Basically asking about falsetto and flageolet. And Steph is saying he's heard, or she's heard, I'm not sure if you're male or female, that it can benefit the rest of the voice to do that work, but you're feeling some tension by doing that work. And this is very important. When you're going up into falsetto, flageolet, head voice, if you're a female, flageolet, you got to really watch the extrinsic muscles. Okay, we're going to make sure that you don't have a couple things happening. Lots of this, sternocleidomastoid, one of those, this V shape with a squeeze. We don't want to see a lot of bulking or tension in these muscles right under the jaw. You don't want to see a lot of jaw thrusting, and you don't want to see a lot of tongue retraction or tongue squeezing. Okay, you want to really make sure that it's very free. And so if you're feeling a lot of all of that, you got to do a couple of things. You got to do mirror practice. Okay, keep a mirror handy and see if you can just first do it mentally and say, can I relax more? Can I make sure that there's nothing happening? If you can't do it, feel free to hold it down. Not your larynx, but these muscles here. You can just press right in gently, or right here, or one of these. And then what I'm doing there is stopping the wrong muscle from cheating so the right muscle gets the work. Okay, so that's the holding strategy. You also can kind of move a little bit, right? Stevie Wonder style. That way you don't grip, okay? It's always good, folks, to practice head voice, practice falsetto, practice flageolet. Always a good idea, right? Every day. But if you're practicing squeezing, then you're practicing a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. So that's, Steph, what I think is going on there, is you might be doing some extrinsic tension while you're doing the good work. All right, let's go to another question. We've got Sammy Hampton. Do I know Phil Wickham's voice? And can I shed any light on Phil Wickham? You know, Sammy, I do know Phil Wickham, excellent Christian artist, but I don't know him well enough to make an analysis for you right here. So if you want, I can listen in more detail to Phil for next time, and I can give you some ideas for next time. So Sammy, we're going to save the Phil Wickham question for next time because I don't want to be, pulling it out of thin air for you there. Okay. Now we're on to Blaze. Blaze, our friend Blaze. Can women sing as classical male singers do? What are classical male singers doing as opposed to classical female singers? Awesome question, Blaze. So the answer is actually no. Women cannot sing as classical male singers do. Actually, let me rephrase that. Women don't sing like classical male singers. I suppose they can, but they don't. Okay, here's how that works. A classical male singer is in chest voice, basically, and mix. We're using a thyroarytenoid dominant production. right? We're using the strong part of the voice, M1, okay, chest voice, thyroarytenoid dominance. That's what a male is doing in classical music. Classical females are using head voice and M2, cricothyroid dominance, right? Essentially, this voice, ha, versus this voice, woo, right? When a female uses the M1, the chest voice, the thyroarytenoid dominance, when a female does that, that's belting, okay? And we almost always hear females when they're using the thyroarytenoid chest in contemporary music, in jazz, in rock, in pop, in theater. It's not acceptable in classical music to use chest voice. Maybe you hear it for a moment or two in a female, but almost never, okay? So can females sing classical? Obviously, yes. Can males? Obviously, yes. But there's a big difference in the production. Notice contemporary males and females sing very similarly. And some men almost sound like women in some instances, right? And kind of vice versa, you hear. Not in classical. Classical, it's such a difference with head voice for females and chest and mix for males, okay? Now we have Yetta. Yetta, hey Yetta, how you doing? Yetta says she's a girl from Hong Kong and she loves singing, yay. Is mixed voice the only part or region that sings between the chest voice and head voice? Oh, I see. Or is mix the combination of chest and head that can sing? Okay, I think I got your question. Yeah, I was a little confused there. Mix is a funny term, and I love it. I love to use it. But mix is so vast and can mean so many things that some people will even go so far as to say, there is no mix. I don't believe in mix. I'm not one of them. I believe very strongly in mix. But we have to understand mix as not just one thing, but many, many things. It is essentially, any combination of chest and head. So I just told you about classical females being head dominant, right? And classical males being chest dominant and chest dominant mix. There are basically an infinite amount of blends between those registers. And they give you lots of options. They give you the option of sounding really strong like chest voice. They give you the option of something really balanced. And they give you the option of something very light that isn't head voice. Should probably show you these sounds. So if I blast a full chest voice, okay, as full as I can go, okay, we have and it's it's a lot. If I allow that to switch to falsetto at the top, everything falls apart. Now that's not a mix. I've totally let go of the muscle. But do I need to go to keep my strength? No, I don't. I can do one of these. That sounds pretty strong, but not as strong as the other one. It's a mix. There's a chest dominant mix. What about a sound like this? Okay, maybe 50-50, right? It's not that strong. It's not that weak either. Something right down the center, 50-50 mix. Now, what about something like this? That's very light. Is that falsetto? No, it's not falsetto. So So that would be like a head dominant mix. Now, I just gave you 3 options: chest dominant mix, 50-50 mix, and head dominant mix. We could break it down even more detailed. For some of the Broadway folks that I work with, we go very detailed. We say, what is that? Is that a 65-35 mix? Is that a 70-30 mix? 70 chest, 30 head? We break that mix down very specifically, right? So I don't want you, Yetta, or anybody, to think of mix as one thing, right? It's a mix because it's a mix. It's a blend, and you can blend things in infinite ways, okay? Now, next is from Blue Moon, our friend Blue Moon. What is covering in classical singing? Is it also used in other styles? Okay, the question, covering. What is covering? Covering is one of these general terms, like bringing the sound forward. Okay, it doesn't have a specific meaning, but it blends a lot of things together. A covered sound tends to be a sound that is very back, okay, very much in the back. This includes low larynx. This includes high soft palate. This usually includes some narrow shapes, even puckered kind of shapes, okay? So a very, very covered sound would be, same thing. If I'm really, really buried and back there, that's very, very covered. Now, covered isn't bad. I just exaggerated it so that you could hear. But a singer that's really out the mouth, hey, that's not covered at all. Hey, right out the mouth, no cover to it at all. This kind of angle. Hey, that's very covered. Hey. I got my soft palate up, larynx down, narrow embouchure. Hey, it's like covered, it's covered up. Hey, it's very exposed. It's out of the covers. Okay, so that's just a way to look at it. But cover, it's not my favorite term, because you see it's at least 3 things. I mentioned palate, larynx, embouchure. We could even talk about vocal cords. It's many things all at once, right? Just like forward is many things all at once. I love to talk about the details, all right? But that's what covering is. In case you ever hear that term covering, it's a very dark, protected back sound to the voice, usually classical. Leslie Campbell. Hi, Leslie. Good to see you again. In contemporary, what is rasp, and how does one do it, and where is it used appropriately? Well, Leslie, that is a huge topic, and I will give you a little rundown of it, but we're going to address that in future videos big time, so I don't want to go too detailed, but I'll give you some ideas. Rasp is essentially any dysphonia or gritty quality to the voice, and it's often used for emotion or a stylistic effect. You know, heavy metal artists use it like a lot, and pop singers use it some, even theater singers use it. There's various kinds of rasp, and I kind of just break down a few of them real fast for you. The first is just simply damage. If somebody's got a damaged voice, they will have a raspy quality sometimes, right? So sometimes when you hear a singer, they've got a brittle quality, it's that they actually have damage. Now, we don't want that, but I'm just saying sometimes you hear it. There is the rasp that is on the true vocal cords. That is the vocal fry. Those kind of sounds that are exactly on the vocal fry. That is your vocal cords doing the rasp. You also have the false vocal cords, which are located right above the true chords. So what I just did there, oh, there goes the Teeth. All right, so I'm gonna break open this larynx. It opens up. Here's the front, here's the back, and we're just gonna open this bad boy. There we go. Okay, so we have the true vocal cords right there, and they do that true vocal cord rasp, fry style. Immediately above them, we have the false vocal cords, which, can kind of, rasp out if we position them, just in the right way. We can get those guys to phonate. Now, the cool thing about that is you notice that didn't really cost me anything, because I'm doing that in such a way that this surface above my vocal cords gets the gets the contact, whereas my true cords, we're still good to go. All right, so I'm rasping out above those true cords. That's one of them. There's cartilaginous rasps of many kinds, which are in the family of and that's the arytenoids back there rattling around and doing stuff back there. Then you also have epiglottic rasp, which is when the epiglottis, where's the epiglottis? There's the epiglottis, pushes back towards the arytenoids. And then what we have is I see trees of green, red roses too. This sort of Louis Armstrong voice. Okay, so basically with rasp, what we're looking at is which thing in there do you want to flap besides the true vocal cords, all right? And we're going to decide which one we want and which one is right for which style, okay? Is it harmful? Yes, if you do it wrong. But obviously, many people do it for long time periods in their careers, and they're okay. So there is a technique to it. There is an art form to it, and we'll go into more detail on it on the show coming up. But I hope that gives you a little rundown. You got the damage. You've got the true cords, false cords, arytenoids, and epiglottis. Okay, things that can flap. Very good, Leslie. Okay, now we have Jake F. Jake, hey Jake, how you doing? Hey Justin, I'm a tenor. How can I sing in mixed voice in my lower range? Love that. I've been singing songs. Yeah, Jake, here's the cool thing. So basically the question is, how do I use my mixed voice in my lower range? We want to look, Jake, at texture, which is similar to rasp that Leslie was asking about. If I am too loud all the time, I get this kind of sound. Really killing it there. I can use different textures though. Right there, I'm using my vocal fry, as we just talked about. I could also give you one of these. That's a breathy sound, an aspirate sound. I could also give you one of these. Right down the center. So you saw I kind of used like 4 qualities there. Volume, squeezy texture, the opposite, and then balance. When we're talking about a mix, a lot of what we're talking about is vocal fold control. To what degree am I going squeezy? Am I going the opposite? Am I going balanced? Am I going loud? As I get to my low range, several things can happen. Maybe I'm trying to be, Robert Goulet or something, really cranking the lows. Or some people get kind of squeezed down there. Other people get kind of breathy down there. Jake, for you to have a mixed quality, we need to have solidness without volume, which would be something like that, okay? Where it's not too squeezed, it's not too breathy, it's just right down the center, strong without being forced, okay? I'm not using volume down there. I'm just finding the cleanest, crispest sound. So Jake, do some volume exercises at the bottom of your voice, okay? Go loud, go medium, go soft, and then do some texture exercises at the bottom of your voice. Go squeezy, breathy, in between, until you find just the right balance of the chord closure and the volume, okay? That's how you're gonna get that mix. Okay, so now, oh, Amelie is back. Hello, Amelie. Good to see you, Amelie. And we have, is it healthy, is it not healthy to go down with the head voice, or is it okay? Is it better to switch to chest voice when it's becoming very low? Fabulous, Amelie. What a great question. The question, first and foremost here is it healthy? And the answer is in flashing lights. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So healthy, unbelievably healthy, okay? So if anybody told you it's not healthy, they've got some confusions there. Nothing in the world could be healthier than that, Amelie. The thing about it is that it's going to get very weak, okay? That's not bad, but it's going to get very weak. I can show you in my own falsetto what happens. Way up top, it's, you know, quite strong. But as I come down with falsetto, which is the equivalent of the female head voice, right? It's so weak. So weak. But what it's doing is taking the flexibility of those high notes down into my middle voice and maybe even my low notes. So what we're doing is giving notes that are often quite strong and quite TA dominant. We're giving them the experience of head voice dragged down, right? Belters often have a lot of problems health-wise with their voice. And the reason is that there's this driving of power all the time, okay? There's a tendency to overcompress. There's a tendency to raise the larynx too much. There's a tendency to drive breath pressure and volume in this effort to be strong at all costs. So, you know, we know of certain contemporary artists who have hurt themselves doing that. What you're saying, Amelie, is actually something that would be like the best stretch that you could ever feel for those same notes. Because rather than, say, belting, oh, that note, I'm gonna take that coordination down. So wonderful for those lower and middle notes to get that experience of just finding more head qualities to it. So I encourage you to do it, not as something that you take out on stage, because nobody wants to hear that, but something that can give your voice a nice luxury cruise of a stretch. All right? Very good question. Now we're on to Rose. Hey, Rose, how you doing? Rose says, I notice when I sing in the mask, my nasal area and my lips tingle intensely. Does this go away over time? Sometimes it's so intense, I have to massage my lips to articulate again. Oh my. Let me think about that one, Rose. Sing into the mask is something that I first want to unpack. Because just like covering or bring the sound forward, sing into the mask is another one of these vague vocal terms that really confuses people. In a way, Rose, you can't sing into your mask. Okay, there's no such thing. And I know that that's a really common vocal thing, all right? Like, sing from the diaphragm and raise your soft palate and all your problems will be solved. Bring the sound forward. Sing into the mask. But let's think about the mask. That's this area right here. All right? Now, sometimes people feel vibrations there. This is not resonance, okay? This is what we call conductive vibrations, right? Like if I hit the piano, it vibrates. We hear that. But it's different than like the resonance. Sometimes we feel vibrations in the body. We feel the chest voice, in the chest. Is the chest a resonator? No, not really. It's not. Here's your resonator, right here. It's not the chest, but we feel vibrations in the chest. Sometimes in higher notes, we feel the vibrations here. Sometimes we feel them here. Sometimes we feel them here. But not everybody does. People are different. They have different shaped heads. And we don't want to say you have to feel it here, you have to feel it there. People feel vibrations in different places. So this idea of the mask, Rose, is that some people feel some notes vibrating right here. Not resonating, vibrating. And what it sounds to me like, Rose, is that because that is a bit of a vocal myth, you might be trying very hard to force it there or place it there, and it doesn't need that. It doesn't want that. Because the tension, could you scroll back up? Thank you. You sing into the mask, your nasal area and your lips tingle intensely. That's not a normal thing, as you know. People don't usually get, tingling sensations that make you want to stop singing. That is almost definitely a form of tension. If you think about keeping any muscle really tense, if I just keep my arm locked, even after 5-10 seconds, it starts to tingle. But that's because I'm working so hard at that. Right? If I relax my arm again, stop shaking. So if I hear that there's tingling happening here, it seems to me like perhaps you're trying to force it into the mask or force it into a place of vibration that you were told was right. And because it's being forced, manipulated, you might be feeling a shaking sensation and a tingling. Without having heard you, that is my guess as to what's going on. But to summarize, you can't really sing into the mask, right? That's not a thing. What can you do? You can drop your soft palate, all right? If you want nasal resonance, how do you get it? You drop your soft palate, okay? What's the the difference? It's back there. My soft palate. No nose. Nose. None. Some. That's if I want nose, nasal resonance. Happens here, not here. What if I want the sound bright? Happens here. Maybe it happens here. What happens here? Nothing happens there. This is bones, bones, bones. You can't do anything about your mask. This is bones, all right? So I feel, Rose, that you might be trying to force the voice into vibratory places that it doesn't actually need to go. All right. And back to our friend Blue Moon. Okay, Blue Moon says, when singing with the orchestra, like the musicians, you cannot rely on hearing the music to know when you are in the piece. You have to rely on counting rhythm to know when you're in the music. Yes? Well, Blue Moon, that's a tough one when singing with the orchestra. If you're at the level to be singing with an orchestra, first of all, congratulations, that's awesome. But you have a conductor, right? And that's why, whether it's Broadway, in Broadway, what they do is they have a camera on the music director, and they put the TV screen at the back of the house. So when you're sitting there watching the show, if you look behind you and you look up, you'll see actually a TV monitor, and you see the music director doing like one of these. Okay, classical music even more. The conductor is going to be right there. So when you're talking about a big space with lots of acoustics and instruments are placed in different parts of the parts of the stage, actually we don't usually count so much as we watch. Okay. The reason why is because sound waves travel in such strange ways. And it would be very, very easy for you, if you're standing at the front of the stage and the orchestra is way back there, for the sound to be echoing off the back of the auditorium and off the sides, and your voice is echoing, and it'd be very easy to get out of rhythm. This is why a conductor has a job. If you could just count the rhythms and feel it, the conductor would be fired. We have to have somebody keeping you honest. So I think that problem is solved just by making sure that you are in communication with your conductor, all right? And now Blaze, our friend Blaze. Blaze says, should I look up for high notes? It's a great question. The first answer is no, don't do it. Here's why. Generally speaking, we don't want the larynx to be too much of a pitch changer, okay? What that means is I don't want my low notes to be like, and my high notes to be way up there, okay? If I do a really bad job with my larynx, it looks like this. And I have this feeling of dropping down larynx and head for low notes and raising up larynx and head for high notes. And then what do I not have doing my high notes and doing my pitch changing? Vocal cords. The more that you can keep your larynx stable, the more your vocal cords will do the work. And we want this. That's good technique, okay? Now, the larynx is going to move, so don't get confused here. We're not trying as some people have said, to keep the larynx neutral at all times. It never can move. That's not reasonable. That's not how it works. Okay, the larynx will move, okay, when you sing. If you go from 2 octaves, low, like just a low G to high G, is going to move a little bit, but we want to minimize it, right? Very little movement, but still, it's just some. It's not that much, but it's a little bit, okay? And everybody's larynx moves a little bit. But Blaze, when you start doing this stuff for high notes, what happens is we're encouraging the larynx to be a pitch changer. We're saying the notes are going higher. It's okay for you to raise up to do that. And then you're basically using the wrong tool for the job. But Justin, I see Ariana Grande and so, and they're doing like this. Clearly, it's got to be okay, right? Yes, it is. It's okay. But it's okay when the larynx is a style changer, not a pitch changer. When you see Ari, doing all that stuff, she's singing with a very high larynx. I hope that's clear to everybody. I love Ariana Grande. She's a fantastic singer. Sings with a very poppy larynx, okay? So whereas opera singers, sing with a low larynx, and pop singers sing with a high larynx. Ari's got her larynx quite high, all right? Since she has it high, and since she's freaking good at singing with it high, it will help her to do one of these, because this gesture helps the larynx to elevate, just like this gesture helps the larynx to lower. We don't want to overdo it, but if you're, let's say this, if you're skillful, Blaze, if you're skillful with a high larynx, and you're not doing it because you don't have the note, you're not reaching up, you're raising your larynx because your style requires it, it looks really cool, and it doesn't cause you tension, go ahead, be my guest, raise that chin. Nothing wrong with it, okay? But it just has to be in the right context, okay? Very good. Okay, now we're back to Jake, our friend Jake. Jake F. How can I develop a powerful reinforced falsetto like Brendan Urie from Panic? I find that when I'm singing in a strong mixed voice, I have trouble getting into that reinforced falsetto. I default into a edgy head-chest mix, like something a rocker would do. Doesn't sound as released as Brendan's reinforced falsetto. And I think I'm holding on to mix. Wow. Jake, sounds like you know your voice. That's a nice analysis right there. Let's talk about reinforced falsetto. You would be right, Jake, to say that if you're keeping the mix, you're losing out on the option of reinforced falsetto. For people that don't know what reinforced falsetto is, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's falsetto, wee, woo, that I reinforce, I bolster, I strengthen. Not like a mix, but through resonance, okay? So if I have hey, hey in falsetto, I can do certain things to my larynx and to my jaw and tongue and lips. Hey, hey, yeah, to get that falsetto sound strengthened. Now it doesn't connect with mix. It's still falsetto. So that same, yeah, it still has that little where my vocal cords get back into mix from falsetto. So it's a strong sounding falsetto, perhaps a belty sounding falsetto, but it's not a belt because it's disconnected. So Jake, it sounds like you have the wisdom already, because if you can tell that your vocal cords are connected mix style, you're right. You can't get the reinforced falsetto. It's got to be falsetto first. So what I'm going to recommend to you, Jake, is exaggerating the true falsetto. And what we're going to do here is give you the opposite of reinforced falsetto, which would be something deep, dark, and round. You could do a whoa sound like this. Okay, very hollow. We'll just do exercises. And see how much power you can get to all that depth. Then what we do is we start to unfold from the depth to the brightness, one of these kind of things. And then where we're moving from something that we know is falsetto to the brightest, piercingest reinforced falsetto. So I think you're right, Jake. Make sure you're out of mix first. Do something like a woo to get out of it, and then strengthen from there. Otherwise, you're never getting a chance to practice your reinforced. Okay, good stuff. Now back to Amelie. Hey, Amelie. I heard that singers don't warm up with singing. We have to do exercises first. What do you think? Can we just sing songs to warm up, or is it better to do exercises before singing? Fabulous, Amelie. You can do them both, to be honest. There's no rule that says I have to do vocal exercises. If you like to sing a song, perhaps it's an easier one of your songs. If you like to warm up with a song, that's okay. But what I would say is, I hope at some point on your vocal journey, if it hasn't already happened, that you fall in love with vocal exercises, okay? And not warm-ups, okay? Warm-ups are a dime a dozen, okay? You can do any kind of all day. It's fine. Technique exercises are so effective if you do them with intention and you've got the right exercises to practice. They're not just random ones. They're really good ones. They're designed for you. If you have those exercises, the thing about them is nothing improves the voice more than that. All right. They target and pinpoint the mechanism so well that there's no song in the world that can help you improve like the right vocal exercise, because they're so pinpointed. You know, songs are great, but if you have a song, you are limited to that set of words, that set of intervals and jumps and sustains. You're limited. When we do a vocal exercise, we can hit every little piece and part. So I want you to fall in love with vocal exercises, because the faster you do, the faster you're going to see the progress that you want to see. But when we're talking about warming up the voice, I could go either way. If you want to have your 3 or 4 nice warm-ups that you do, and you like that best, great. If you have a song or two where you say, you know what, every time I sing this song, my voice just feels warm, I feel ready to go, you can take that path as well. Okay? Okay, and now we have back to Leslie. Leslie, good to see you again. Why does mix have to be so specific for Broadway? So that was what I was talking about before. I talked about how when I'm working with Broadway singers, we'll say a 70-30 mix or 65-35. Leslie's asking for more. Why with Broadway do we get that specific? The reason for Broadway that we do is because Broadway is the superior genre in the following way. Diversity, okay? Every style has its superior quality. Like opera is the biggest sound you hear, okay? R&B is probably the most agile sound that you'll hear, okay? But heavy metal is perhaps the most raspy, edgy sound that you hear. But what about Broadway? What makes Broadway special? Diversity. When you're a Broadway singer, you could be called upon tomorrow to sing a rock song for us, or sing us a Rodgers and Hammerstein. Come on, bring a classical aria. We want to hear your opera voice today. What do you mean you don't have a country song? You should have a country song in your book. Oh, well, all of Broadway these days is going pop. So you got to have like 3 or 4 pop songs. When you're a Broadway singer, it's like, what kind of singer am I? You're whatever they say they need. You know, whatever they're casting. Yeah, that's what kind of singer I am. Of course I'm a country singer. Always have been, always loved it. Okay, you've got to be able to change your voice. And in this regard, Broadway singers have to be the most specific. They need to be able to change not just the style, but the production. And let's say that it is a rock show, okay? We're doing this rock show 8 shows a week. Rockers don't do that. Let's say we're doing the Rolling Stones musical. Rolling Stones don't perform 8 times a week, okay? But if we're doing a Rolling Stones musical, you have to. And so then we have to say, how can we make you sound like the Rolling Stones without taxing your voice? Because you got to do it 8 shows a week. Then we got to say, wow, you know, you're using a 70-30 mix there. Sounds cool. It's costing you a bit. Can we make that a 60-40 mix and it still sounds rocking, but you're not paying the price? Okay, that's why a Broadway singer needs to be more specific. Every singer should. I'm just saying the demands and the diversity of sounds asked of a Broadway performer require that level of precision. Yeah. And next is Blue Moon, again, our friend. Can you hold a straight tone note very high in your voice for a long time without straining? Sure. I don't see why not. I mean, I can try. Yeah, felt pretty good. I know you meant can one do it, and I just did it. I just want to make sure straight tone gets this bad rap a lot, which is, I think, why you're asking the question. As though it's not as healthy for some reason. As though it's not natural. Straight tone needs to be on the pedestal with vibrato, okay? Vibrato got the pedestal position from the opera world. Now, opera singers do use vibrato on every single note, pretty much. And it is a part of that style. But that has led us to believe that vibrato is natural and is healthier than straight tone. And I want to definitely unpack that for you. Straight tone is equally healthy as vibrato. Vibrato is just that pitch bend, that small movement of the note. There's no reason why a singer can't sing a straight tone note freely. And in fact, think about it this way, Blue Moon. It's important that you do sing a straight tone note without straining, without resorting to vibrato. Because, think of it this way, vibrato does free up the voice. I know that, I agree. But if you always have to free up your voice by using vibrato, guess what you're not good at? Freeing up your voice every other way, right? You are resorting to vibrato. By making yourself sing straight tone, you have to solve it another way. You have to solve that strain on the vocal cord level. You have to solve that strain by making sure your larynx position is right. You have to solve that strain by not driving the breath pressure. You have to solve that strain by getting the resonance right. If you're always going to vibrato, you're solving the strain by going to vibrato. So it's actually a very effective tool to make yourself go to straight tone and solve any straining that is there that way. Okay. Next is Blaze. Blaze asks a good question. Do professional singers do vocal exercises? What do you think I'm going to say, Blaze? Oh, man, do they ever. Oh, gosh, just all day, every day. Yes, 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 yes. You know, it's a very reasonable question, Blaze, that you ask. But do professional athletes go to the gym? Yes, you know, like Steph Curry, you know, draining, 40 points in a game. He doesn't get that by just playing basketball, right? He's not just shooting hoops all day. He's in the gym and he's working with his trainer, and they are looking at every muscle and doing the exact right workout to build his body so that when he plays the sport, he is Steph Curry, okay? Singing, we have to see it this way. We have this illusion about singing that really good singers just kind of sing a bunch of songs for a while, and then all of a sudden they're Ariana Grande, okay? Ariana has been studying and refining and doing exercises and training since she was like 7 years old. I mean, she is a technician. David Phelps, one of the other greatest singers in the world. We had him here in the studio a few weeks ago, and I talked with David. David Phelps is a technician. I mean, he might as well be a voice teacher. He knew every piece and part, every little thing he's doing, every little exercise to fix anything that's happening. Professional singers do more vocal exercises than the rest of us, not less, okay? Very, very good to know. Next, we have Joseph. We haven't had one from you, so welcome. Or it's Colin Joseph. I've heard coaches saying that I have to tighten up my abdomen in order to engage my diaphragm. Is it the tighter, the better? Oh, Colin Joseph, I'm glad we're having this talk because it seems as though you've had some poor advice there. Abdominal tension is generally the enemy of good technique, okay? Especially the following. When you're driving the sound like this, that's transverse abdominis. That's that muscle, transverse. That's gonna shove the air out. We don't want that. That's the opposite of breath support. But you also say tighten, and that's usually going to mean like this, tightening the abdominals. This leads to the Valsalva maneuver, which is the squeezy sound. So either I'm driving or I'm squeezing. We don't want abdominal tension. Now, there is one exception, which is the low rectus abdominis, all the way down, like way, way down. And that will engage very slightly. So small that to do it right almost feels like doing nothing. But when I do a long phrase, I'm not doing any or I don't have to do any of that. It's just like pressing the gas pedal on a car. You don't, okay, you just press and it makes the air go, makes the breath flow, makes the car go. Abdominal tension really mess you up. It's going to give you a pressed, strident, forced, squeezed sound. If you've had that kind of training, Colin Joseph, I would say try for a week or two, giving yourself the intention of how can I sing with the most calm, released abdominals that I possibly can do, okay? Now we're running out of time here, and we will, if you ask a question and we didn't get to it this time, we will answer it next time. I think my next chat with you all is on the 16th. I'll have to confirm, but every month we have them. Okay, so we'll get to more of these next month. I'm going to do two more, okay? One from Yetta, which is, what is the difference between mixed register and mixed voice? There's no difference. Easy as that. That was an easy one. Register is a term that we use to describe mechanisms like chest voice or head voice or mixed voice. So mixed register is the same thing as mixed voice, okay? And then we have from Ray, what about sitting using a high stool or standing when practicing? That's a good one. You can definitely feel free to sit. I know that probably all of you have seen my show, my voice lessons show, or else you would not be here today. And you notice I'm always at the piano sitting. It's more difficult to do that, I'll admit, but it's certainly possible. If you are a guitarist and you sit, or you're a pianist and you sit, it's definitely important to practice a little bit sitting down. But just in a normal lesson or practice session, if you want to sit, it's totally fine. But what you do have to make sure you are aware of is that there's no either slumping, you're slumping in that chair, or the opposite, I'm sitting, so now I'm going to overcompensate and really hold myself up. You need to feel like there's, just like Colin Joseph's question, no squeezing going on here. No tension in the upper back, lifting us up, and nothing slumping us down, giving us that abdominal squeeze, okay? So just be aware of your posture and your alignment when you're sitting, but there should be no reason why you can't practice that way and ultimately perform that way. Well, I must say, it is such a joy and a blessing to be with you guys. You have fantastic questions. You just keep them coming at me, and really appreciate the smarts and the enthusiasm from you all. And it's just great to have these groups where we can go deeper together. And I'm getting to know some of you as we go too, which is very cool. Remember to watch Brendan's chats if you don't do that, because Brendan Hodek, he does our voice breakdowns show. Vocal genius. This guy knows his stuff. So be sure to join Brendan's chat. You can ask him some really good questions. He knows the singing voice. He knows the speaking voice. He knows pathologies and vocal injuries. So be sure to join Brendan for his chat. And I guess I will see you next time, but thanks again for being members and for these chats. Really appreciate all of you, and we will see you next time.